Hello and welcome along to the start of a brand new short-term challenge with me, Daniel. We're carrying on the legacy of our head coach manager, but under a different bracket now. We've just found a little challenge to attract our attention. If you want to know why we're not continuing the long-term career, go back and catch up with Saturday's episode. Basically, we've been waiting all summer for a big job, and unfortunately nothing's come along at the top of the game. And now about halfway through the season, we've got an interesting approach from a club with a massive reputation, but they've been on the slide for a few years now, and they're in with a threat of relegation this year, so we just want to take them over for the rest of the season, make sure we secure their survival, and then we can retire a very happy manager. So as I mentioned on Saturday, this challenge probably will only run for a couple of weeks. I can only see it being a 5 or 6 part series, unless we obviously do brilliantly in 1 or 2 of the cups, and in which case we could be adding more trophies to our illustrious career, even though it will no longer be under the head coach bracket. I'm still tempted to let the director of football do the signings in the winter, but I'm not sure I'm going to. It depends how much of a sticky situation we're in and whether we get a budget to spend anyway. So you can't see the side on this screen, so I've not given you any spoilers yet, but we're going to go and have a quick look now and accept the job offer. So today's episode will be our first day in a job. We're going to have a look at the players at the club and the staff we've got at our disposal. That will possibly help us determine what we're going to do in the transfer window, and we'll also see what tactic we might want to play, and then over the next couple of days I'll let you guys give your suggestions, and then we'll go with one of them on Wednesday. So let's go and meet the club that we're going to be joining. The only clue I gave you was it's a bit closer to home, so if you did get this one right in the comments, then give yourself a big pat on the back. But I can confirm the club is in England, and Liverpool of the Premier League have offered us a job. Our highest paid job of our whole career, even if you include the head coach story. A massive job offer to try and save them. They want us to finish in mid-table, which shows you just how badly they've started. They've not had the best time of things in the last couple of seasons. We've got to keep their director of football at the club anyway. We'll meet him in a moment when we join officially, but let's go and have a look at where they stand at the moment. 15th in the Premier League. They've got a really interesting squad at the moment. They've not got many players in their prime at all. They've got quite a lot of young players coming through. You can see all of the players outside the squad there are 19 to 22. And then in the squad they've got loads of players over 30 and without any really in that middle ground. So a really interesting time for the club. They've been on a steady decline in the last few seasons. They actually won the Premier League title in 2025. Their third success in 5 years at that point. But since then they've not qualified for the Champions League once, and they've gradually slid down the league table each year. That culminated with a 10th place finish last year, and with most of the old guard still here, unfortunately they're not finding their way back up. But they've still got a massive reputation, and I think we'll be able to do a good job with them and make sure they're safe next season. I haven't looked at the cups yet to see how they're getting on. They're still in the Carabao Cup at the quarter-final stage, but that's going to be away to Manchester City, a very difficult game there. And then the FA Cup obviously starts in the new year, and they haven't got any European competitions to worry about, so it should just be a short-term challenge this season, and hopefully we can guide them to safety. If I show you the table, there's not a huge distance between them and the relegation zone, which highlights just how bad a start it's been. Liverpool on 11 points after 13 games, Millwall in 18th, just 2 points behind on 9, so we're certainly not out of the woods, and it's going to make things very tricky for the first couple of months. In January we'll obviously be able to adapt our squad a little, but we may leave that in the hands of our director of football. Let me know your thoughts on that bit, which you'd rather see. Do you want me to take charge of the transfers in January, or do you think it would be more of an interesting challenge if we left our director of football to go and do it for us? As you saw on the job offer screen, there's quite a big budget still, 70 million on transfers, so I'm not sure if they'll be able to get in 2 or 3 squad players, or maybe just one top class pro to change the squad. The other thing I want to make clear at this stage, and the reason we ended the head coach series despite this offer, is I don't want to go through that long rebuilding phase again, and we haven't really got time for it before FM20, so the plan is this will just be a short-term challenge for the rest of the season, and the only reason that will change is if I completely fall in love with this Liverpool side, or alternatively if all of you want to see it next season. So if you do and you're enjoying it as the season goes on, then obviously let me know, and if enough of you are watching and putting thumbs up on the video, videos and want to see another season, then of course we'll go along and do one more just to see if we can take them back to the promised land and maybe even add a trophy or two. Who knows what's going to happen this season. But let's go back and accept that job offer. We're going to try and work them up to 175 grand a week. They only want to offer us a 1.5-year contract, and that fits with us just perfectly, as we're not going to be managing beyond that point. Even if we see one more season, it'll take us to then. We get a bonus if we win the FA Cup and a relegation wage drop, but I'd imagine if we take this side down, we'll end our career with a sacking. So let's go and suggest those terms. They don't really want to budge too much on the finances. We're just going to keep trying to edge it up, and hopefully they'll accept one of them. 160 grand a week, they wouldn't budge at all, so we're back to 155, and the job offer's been accepted. We'll be joining Liverpool in a moment, and we'll be back in a second to meet the squad. Here we go then, we join Liverpool replacing the former Bristol City manager Lee Johnson. He's been doing well for himself in this save, but unfortunately he's just been sacked by Liverpool, of course. He's left us in a bit of a pickle too, so hopefully we'll be able to get out of it. Let's have a look at the transfer obligations. We'll go and do all of the meetings off camera. All of them are just players out on loan, so not much we can do about that for now. Injury update, we've got 4 out injured, one of them for 4 months. He's only a rotation player though, so hopefully he's not a superstar, though we have got a key player out for a couple of weeks. 2 of the first teamers have reoccurring injuries too, so plenty of worries there, and we're starting to see why they struggle a little bit. Vinicius Jr. has been good against us in his career. I remember him causing trouble while we were at Newcastle, but I'm imagining he's around the age of 30 now. He's past it, he's 31, so we'd expect him to be declining pretty quickly. How many players are unhappy? One wants to leave for continental football, and we're probably not going to be able to turn that down. It's one of the only players at a prime age, so I'd quite like to avoid it if possible, but again we'll go and talk to all of these off camera, and hopefully we'll get some good outcomes. There's one who's ranked as a first team player, but he wants first team football, and I'm not sure why he's not playing then. 3-star ability holding midfielder, maybe it's just the formation Johnson was playing. So it seems like there maybe was a bit of a clash between manager and director of football, as there's lots of players with high squad statuses that are unhappy and aren't getting many appearances. I know I've been guilty of that myself in the past, but obviously I've not been in charge of transfers, and I've always tried to be honest with players and adjust squad statuses as needed. Let's see who the captain is at the moment. Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's still there. We're certainly not going to make any changes to that. He seems like the perfect leader, even though he's now well into his 30s. We'll reject the social feed. We don't want loads of messages slowing the save down, but most importantly, let's go and meet our squad and staff, and we'll start with the staff one as it's less exciting. If you think of a club with such a reputation as Liverpool, a lot of the coaches seem to have gone with Lee Johnson. Lots of spaces there to be filled, and our director of football will certainly do that. The same in the medical team as well, as the club's pretty averagely ranked for staff ability. So that's a bit of a worry for a club with such a big reputation, but I'm sure moving forward they'll address that. We've got a bit of a weird situation where a few of the key staff are backing up in secondary roles. So Michael Edwards, our director of football, also chief data analyst. He's on big money, 19 grand a week, 3.5-star reputation, 19 and 20 for judging ability and potential. He looks absolutely world class, so he should be bringing us in some good players. That pretty much convinces me he should do the transfers. Obviously, as I said earlier, let me know in the comments if you want me to take charge of them, and if enough of you do, I'll obviously do that. But I certainly think we can trust this man. He's probably the best director of football we've had at any club, possibly aside from Ribalta at Napoli. He was a genius in a low market, so we can't really discredit him too much. Alex Inglethorpe is a head of youth development. He's also a coach for the club too, a world-class one, and he's there in real life. He's been at the club for nearly 20 years. Again, he's absolutely fantastic, and we can certainly trust him in the role. Maybe we'll get a very special youth intake. That also gives us a bit of optimism for the youth squads as well. Are we going to find a gem or two in there? And then finally, our Russian assistant manager, Oleg Yarovinsky, another brilliant staff member. Not the best coach, but his knowledge and mental stats are incredible, and the personalities are good across the board, so I think we've got plenty we can work with. What I can't work out based on the staffing is how they're near a relegation scrap in the Premier League, but I'm guessing the squad's going to be weaker, and that's probably going to answer my question. So let's finish by meeting the squad, and then we'll determine what formation we're going to use, and then in the next episode we'll meet that as well as playing our first game. Hopefully we'll get off to a winning start. We've got a week to work with the lads before our first Premier League match. That match is going to be against Leicester away, and then look at our second game. It's the Merseyside Derby at Anfield, our first home game, and it's the derby. That's certainly going to be a rocking atmosphere. Let's go and look at the star ratings. We know we can trust them from our assistant manager. There's plenty of decent ones there, but it seems like there's a few weaker ones too. Perhaps the squad isn't as strong as it should be, and maybe there'll be some gems lower down, and it looks like a lot of the squad players are out on loan, and I've just seen one familiar name too. Dusan Vinjevic, a player we had at Napoli as a number 10. He didn't get a kick for us, and he's obviously left since, and now he's out on loan from Liverpool, as it doesn't seem like he's made it here either. He barely made an appearance for us, if any at all, but I remember the name from him rotting in the reserves and not being happy and talking to us all the time. So some real experience in the squad, but that does obviously mean ageing legs too. So the likes of Lewis Cook, who's obviously at Bournemouth in real life, Chiesa, a good young Italian winger in real life, Trent Alexander-Arnold we've mentioned, a fair few over 30s in the squad. But we've got Manolis, who's a good goalkeeper, 3.5 star ability, a 28-year-old Greek keeper. He's played at Liverpool for 2.5 seasons. He looks completely competent in his position, so I think he's going to be first choice this season, with Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. He's starting to decline physically, but he still looks very good, and I'm confident with him as skipper for the rest of the year. An astronomical wage, but we expect that at clubs like this, and they should be performing far better than 15th. Left back looks pretty good as well, a 27-year-old 3.5 star player, Antonin Lambert, a French international, and again he looks pretty solid, better physically on this occasion, but not so good on the technical side, more of a defensive fullback than someone who will go flying forward. At centre half we haven't really got too much to shout about, a few 3-star players that we'll look at quickly. Amari's the one who was slightly unhappy, he's 27 years of age, the Brazilian. Lucimar's 27 too, another Brazilian who's made a few caps for the international side. He's 3-star ability and looks average too. And then lastly is Dario Botta, again sounds South American. He's Uruguayan at 24 years of age, can't head the ball but he's decent aside from that, a first team player who's done okay this season. Moving into midfield, in the holding role we've already met Victor Hugo. Maybe he's not first choice because Martin Benitez is 3.5 star ability. He looks pretty solid but he's not made many appearances either, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here. He'll definitely be first choice for us, and it might end up being our Newcastle formation looking at this. We've got one good holding midfielder and one good central midfielder too, so it could be Benitez and Antonov in the middle. His 3.5 star ability, a 29-year-old Russian international, a decent playmaker, not the best technically, but good enough to get by till January. The other holding midfielder was Lewis Cook, of course. He's now 34 years of age, still excellent aside from his physical stats, and I'm sure he'll contribute off the bench. Then into attacking midfield, aside from the experienced Chiesa, on the two wings we've got a few good players to choose from. The left winger with 3.5 star ability is Vinicius Jr., who we've mentioned at 31, still an elite level winger, and he's going to be good enough till January. The worry I have is there's no backup on either side, unless some of the strikers are able to play out there, so maybe we're going to have to play 2 up front, or do something slightly wacky in terms of formation. We've done it before at Newcastle and other clubs, so I've got no problems doing it, but I didn't expect to have such a light squad and such an imbalanced one here. With such a good director of football, a manager who had done well in his career, it seems a bit strange that the squad hasn't been built sensibly. It's the one thing I probably would have expected. On the right wing we've got Morala, a 26-year-old 3.5 star Brazilian, 13 caps for the international team, and again he's a good solid Premier League player. He's played for decent clubs across the continent, and he'll do a job again for us over the next couple of months. Then up front seems to be where we're strongest, 3 really high quality players, and they're all ranked as strikers, so we may have to play with 2 up front. Maybe one of these will be able to play on the wing. So Ryan Brewster is the pick of the bunch, 4-star ability at 31 years of age, obviously a hot prospect there in real life. He can play naturally on the right wing too, so that could resolve that problem, but he's such a good finisher and quick off the mark that I don't really want to drop him out of the striker role. He scored over 50 goals for England in less than 100 caps, and he scored over 100 league goals for Liverpool too, so it seems strange not to put him up front for the season when we're desperate for goals to get out of trouble. There is one other 4-star rated striker though, Nelson Antunes, a 22-year-old. He's just coming back from injury and he looks almost as good. Again, he can play across the attacking midfield roles, but 16 for finishing, 16 heading, 17 acceleration, and plenty of good mental stats too. I think he's going to be a superstar, and the two of them might go together quite well. Then finally we've got Emilio Jimenez. He's a 3.5-star striker too, another one that can play as an advanced or complete forward. Just a few caps for Spain and he's a decent striker, not quite the same explosiveness off the mark, but decent technically and mentally, and he certainly fits into more of the complete forward role, but could be a good backup option in both positions. Plenty of experience at Sevilla and over 100 league appearances for Liverpool, another good player and another good striker, plenty to look forward to when managing this club. We've got a few 20 and 21 year olds, most of whom have come through the youth academy. They're all 2.5-star ability, so decent squad players on the bench. I'm not sure what tactic we're going to play yet. I think we'll probably play with two up front and maybe a sort of 4-4-2 formation, but with two attacking wingers and two defensive minded central players. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with that. I think it suits the players we've got here best. We want to get all of the best players in the team, but play a relatively sensible formation. In the under 23s, there's no one ranked above 2-star, although there's plenty of potential across the board. And then in the under 18s, it's the same again. Not much current ability, but it looks like there's a superstar in the making. A 16-year-old striker in Tom Hill, 1-star ability, 5-star potential, and we'll look to get him mentored to improve his personality. But an interesting challenge coming up this season. I'm really looking forward to this half a year at Liverpool. I very rarely manage a big club in this sort of way, so it's something I'm looking forward to doing as a one-off. As I've said throughout the episode, let me know in the comments what you want me to do with transfers. Give me your opinion on tactic as well. And moving forward to January, where do you think this squad needs improving? Whether it's us or the director of football, let me know where you think we're weakest. But we'll be back in a couple of days for the next episode. It will continue on the head coach schedule for the next couple of weeks, but obviously under this new bracket of saving Liverpool as we go through the rest of the season, making sure they don't get relegated. If we go to the schedule, I'm going to skip the first game against Leicester. What we're going to do is watch it from the stands, the traditional manager route when they join a club now, and then we'll be back for our first home game of the club, and that's going to be the Merseyside Derby. I have to show you that one on camera, don't I? We'll meet our new tactic and manage that game. Hopefully we can get a big result, and if we win that one, we'll get the fans on side instantly. But if you did enjoy this episode and you are looking forward to the start of this new challenge like I am, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM19 content, firstly from this challenge and also my One Club story, part of the furniture with Torquay United, where we're trying to take them to the top of English and European football. It's been a really brilliant season in that one, so do go back and catch up if you're not up to date. There's also 3 episodes a week from my Cricket 19 career. That's every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday at midday. A massive thank you to everyone that's been supporting that series, as well as the Ashes Test playthrough we did beforehand. I've really been blown away by the support for my Cricket 19 content, and I can't thank you enough for giving it a try. Finally, our Snooker 19 career continues every Friday at 4:30, but a massive thanks for watching this one and coming to check out our new challenge, and I hope to see you next time for our first game on camera, as we make our home debut as manager in the biggest game of all against Everton.